to see, there's in the audience here, never mind all the people online, people from Namibia, from Mozambique, from Uganda. So we're starting to build Africa presence. And I know there was a guy from Egypt who also registered. I don't know if he's online. But really starting to build that African presence. So I sent Rita an email because I've only met her today in person. So we had some video calls before. And I just sent an email, Rita, will you be prepared to come and talk about Bayan and adoption thereof in East Africa? And I thought she's going to set up a meeting with me or whatever. All I got back is, yes, I will do it. So thank you very much, Rita, and looking forward to your presentation. So thanks.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Paul, and hi, everyone. Good afternoon. My name's Rita Akota-Pell, and I serve at Stanbic Bank Uganda as the Chief Information Officer. Only been there about 15 months, but I must say it's quite an exciting time in Stanbic Bank. Stanbic Bank Uganda is part of the Standard Bank Group, and today I'll be speaking about some insights on how Bayan can benefit the industry in East Africa. I don't know if there are any other East Africans in the audience. Oh, thank you. Yes. I think online as well, I did invite a number of the East African CIOs. I hope they're online. If not, they will listen in. And my presentation today is really out of my own experience, having worked in the banking industry for close to 20 years, working in 7 different banks, both local and multinational. And I must disclaim that there could be some other insights over and above what I'll be sharing. So I'll be happy to hear from any of the other East Africans if I missed anything. But I think the message is pretty much clear that just as South Africa is on this road to Bayan adoption, so is East Africa, and I think Africa at large. We very much need it, considering the history that we've been at within the East Africa, region. So maybe taking a step back and just reflecting on the East Africa, journey. When you think about the digital transformation and the growth that has happened within East Africa, I hope that we all know about M-Pesa. Very popular. I think 19 years ago it was launched, March 2007, I believe, and it was very transformational when it was launched at the time, because it provided, payment capabilities, mobile payment capabilities to different, people in East Africa, especially in Kenya first, but now, it's across East Africa and beyond, to be able to make payments without having to have a bank account. It was really, really transformational. And remember, this was in 2007. I think when you look at Bayan, perhaps Bayan started in 2008. So I guess you know what story I'm trying to tell here. So the growth was rapid. If you see the USSD ecosystem again, a lot of the unbanked actually do use USSD a lot. It's enabled through an access phone, very simple. It doesn't have to be a smartphone, but people in East Africa are able to send money, receive money, do a lot of banking transactions through the USSD ecosystem. Agency networks is also one big one that is taking banking to the last mile. And that has also grown, tremendously. And also just looking at cross-border flows, a lot of innovation has happened from a digital perspective, and this all happened in East Africa without a reference architecture. And I think with that rapid growth, then created a lot of complexities, some of which I see even in Stanbic Bank. And I think the time is now for us to really embrace Bayan to take us to the next level. So as I said, the growth was rapid and it created complexities. But also at the back of that, we know that there's a lot of regulatory scrutiny within East Africa. And personally, I think and believe that that is a door through which Bayan can actually, get into, because every year we are having new regulations coming from the regulator. And I know that in Nigeria, they've actually been able to work with their regulator to make some of these standards and frameworks mandatory. And so in one of my conversations with the CIO of Stanbic Bank Nigeria, he said, look, every year we must attest that we are compliant, or we are using TOGAF, for example, as one of our reference architectures or standards. And I want to believe that, Bayan working with the regulators, especially in East Africa, will actually go a long way in driving adoption. And so regulatory scrutiny, continues to grow. And the cost pressure is real, because now we are in a stage where we need to innovate faster, and yet we find ourselves dealing with a lot of legacy, a lot of complexity, and yet, we have to do all that at an acceptable cost. And that would mean either, building on top of that fragmented architecture to go very fast, but then, there's a cost element in there. So there's a lot we need to think about in that regard. And of course, cyber risk, comes in real, and a bit of that was shared earlier in the presentations. So again, we see that we have a lot of diverse core banking systems and channels within the region. So as I said, growth has been on top of fragmented architecture, a lot of tightly coupled channels, products, which makes it challenging to innovate very quickly. And of course, the cost is high, and I think that makes a good case for Bayan to come in and ease that, the next step. So for East Africa, it's not about, whether we are digitally capable. I think it's how are we ready to scale with the right architecture, in mind. So I wanted to also reflect about the momentum, because, we think we know all about Bayan, or maybe we don't. In some of the breaks there, I was having a conversation with one or two people, and they were saying they were amazed at how little in a particular part of Africa they were, and no one knew about Bayan. And it's true, because in the 7 different financial institutions I've worked for, it's only maybe 1 or 2, and now Standard Bank, where you see Bayan being visible. And I have a slide that speaks to my experience in one of the areas where I saw Bayan in action, and I'll speak to that from my old experience. But looking at the adoption momentum, I would say, in my opinion, it has pretty much been influenced by being part of a global, bank, a Pan-African bank like Standard Bank. ABSA did give their presentation earlier. I think the fact that ABSA Uganda is part of that Pan-African group is how they get to, hear about Bayan and get the influence therein. And Finca Impact Finance is the organization I worked for before, where I saw Bayan in action. But again, I'll talk about that in a bit. The other, avenue where I see organizations getting to know about Bayan is through vendor influence. Because indirectly, vendors like Infosys, Terminos, SAP, and the like are aligning to Bayan or adopting Bayan for enablement purposes and all. But, that is the other avenue where we really get to hear about, Bayan adoption. And so, and a lot of that is really, vendor-led integrations, and, to support the different service offerings and product, launches that the banks are coming up with. And so when you look at East Africa, and I know there was a talk about embedded finance and the fact that it may not be a banking problem and more of a software one earlier in the morning. But this is where the future of East Africa is. And here, I think one key thing that will enable embedded finance is open banking. And in East Africa, open banking must be regulated, just the way it is in, in Western Africa. And I know that the regulators right now are working on some guidelines around open banking. I think that will actually accelerate, the embedded finance conversation. API marketplaces is not an old thing anymore. Everyone is talking about API marketplaces. And I'll talk about our journey at Stanbic Bank in the next couple of slides. A lot of conversations around cross-border trade. How can our, SMEs trade within the borders seamlessly? That's big, and how do we then use technology to enable that? And I think you can see that Bayan is written all over that. And I think Bayan being, a global standard, and we've seen, what it offers. I'm not going to repeat myself. There are very many benefits for the East African region. And I hope my East African colleague will not differ here. But we've talked about how fragmented the architecture is right now. So, and how costly it is to innovate on that fragmented architecture. And automatically, what comes to mind then is when we think of integrating at a lower cost, we need to then, walk that journey with Bayan to ensure that we're able to decouple, we are able to reuse, we're able to scale more responsibly, and really disintegrate this complexity that has been created over the years. We talked to speed to market, and I'll not belabor all this because the reason why we are all here is because we know that there's real benefit in Bayan, and I think I'm just here to affirm that as East Africa, we actually see the value in this, and the South Africa, region is not alone in wanting to adopt, Bayan at a fast rate. And I think at the end of the day, it's just really about moving away from just the digital products to digital capabilities. And I think it really needs to be strategic, in nature across the board. Again, where it helps, I'll not go through this slide, but it pretty much talks about the adoption of the service domains and how it reduces ambiguity between both business, IT, and vendors. How do you decouple the capabilities? I'm excited that the FINACO team is speaking right after, because we are on a core banking modernization journey, and we know that Bayan is a big part of that as well. And so when we talk modernization and simplification, a lot of it hinges around our core banking system right now that we can't really, we are talking about, for example, our data platform strategy. And we are always held back to say where my core banking system is where my, data platform should be. And without modernizing the core banking, we are kind of stuck in a way. We are on an AI journey. How do we move all these things in parallel? And so, again, it's not to say that in our journey as Stanbic Bank Uganda, we are looking to do a big bang. No, we are actually looking to run a lot of these things concurrently as we, bring up Bayan adoption as a key pillar. Of course, regulatory clarity, I think that's important. And as I said, maybe we could organize a meeting with our regulators, right? For Bayan as well to really meet up, because I think that would be a very good avenue to drive, that adoption within East Africa. Yeah, so I'll pause here. I wanted to just share, so before I joined Stanbic Bank Uganda, I was working for a global organization called Finca Impact Finance. It's part of Finca International. When I joined, it was present in 20 countries, 6 of which were in Africa, and I was in charge of technology strategy for the 6 Africa countries. But along the way, I think that was in 2018, the business was grappling with a problem, right? A lot of the customer capabilities, had a lot of gaps in terms of ownership, in terms of even just the maturity, understanding, different terms were used across the organization, a lot of confusion. The senior leadership believed that there was a fundamental issue that needed to be solved. So the CE, and what impressed me so much, which I didn't put on the slide here, is that the CE took it upon herself to actually be the sponsor of this program. And I think that's really a big lesson, that for any Bayan adoption initiative, it shouldn't be seen as a technology one, for it to really have a lasting impact. So the CE actually, the Global CE took this as, she stood up and said, I'll be the sponsor of this program. It was called Business Capability Architecture Program. And the two frameworks or standards that were used as references were Bayan and TOGAF. And they went ahead to build a blueprint, right? A blueprint that pretty much, I think, is used up until today, at least when I speak to the teams. But what I learned from that experience, and one, as I said, it was Bayan in action, because all these, the organization looked at the service domains, mapped it to the business capabilities, and came up with, this is what we want our organization to look like at the end of the day. These are the gaps we've seen in the different capabilities. And it was a journey, because they started by defining what is the mission of the organization. What does our customer journey look like, right? And what are those supporting capabilities to that customer journey that we need to build? Where are the gaps? What is digitized? What is not? And of course, used Bayan as the reference in there. But the learnings from that experience for me that stood out, one was that Bayan was a structural anchor. And so it created a lot of clarity around ownership and the fact that the CE was the sponsor. Capability maturity exposed structural gaps. Ownership was key. You found that perhaps some of the capabilities that needed to sit in the chief operating officer's domain were sitting in the CFO's domain, right? Simple things like that, but it created a lot of clarity in terms of who should own what, and then it drove, the maturing of those capabilities. Execution ownership, again, this ended up, supporting a lot of the outcomes that were being, positioned in there. But also the other thing that was done was it was implemented through the program management office. So it was not one thing that was really sitting within technology, because it was touching so many parts of the business. So they thought it best that the PMO would institutionalize this. And to date, when a project comes on board, it has to go through that, some sort of checklist that they have to make sure that it's aligning to that target architecture. So it was a big learning, and I think that we can learn from that as well, but that is where I saw Bayan in action. And I'm looking to implement, similar in Stanbic Bank Uganda as we start our journey. And stepping back to really, what it would look like in East Africa. As I said, you can't think of it as a big bang. It's not something that you'll come and say, out with the old, in with the new. It's going to be, it has to be incremental, right? So, of course, again, starting with the high impact domains, I think on the APSA example, we saw the high impact area that was chosen was under customer and all that. So that's also, another way of how it can start, picking up within the East Africa space. Anchor it on real business outcomes. And I think that is very, very important, because it's not just us adopting Bayan for the sake of it. What do we want to achieve at the end of that? And I believe that, that needs to be at the back of our minds. Doing whatever we are doing with the end in mind, I think is very important. And then bringing the regulators and vendors along. I know the vendors already along, but I think I'm just stressing the regulator piece a lot more, because I think I've seen that transform, for example, how Nigeria is adopting some of the standards in there. So there's real opportunity there within the region to really bring the regulators along and work with them closely to drive adoption even faster. Okay, I have 11 minutes. I'll be done by then. So at Stanbic Bank, I think we are privileged to be part of the Standard Bank Group, because Standard Bank Group, is a member of Bayan, right? And as I said at the beginning, how the region is really picking up momentum is through being part of a Pan-African, bank or an international organization. And I mean, we are just, lucky to be part of that. And of course, the vendor influence, I've talked about that. What we've done last year, and looking back at the challenges that, in joining Stanbic Bank that we have, is there's a lot of siloed categorization of services, same functionality being referenced differently when you're implementing a different solution. There's a lot of complexity. I have a team of about 150, and when I joined, I wondered, I was like, do I really need 150 staff? But then when I understood the complexity and the fact that we've been building, system on top of systems and things like that, it did make sense to say, we need all those staff. But I'm often challenged when we talk about automation, that a business always says, you've automated this, but we don't see the impact on maybe headcount reduction, for example, or, so that's a conversation for another day, but it's real. And so those complexities, have impacted our speed to market, sometimes created single points of failure, longer resolution times in some cases, because you find that there could be one small change, but requires 5 different teams to actually come together to solve it, right? And of course, also expose us to vendor lock-in in some cases. And so last year, I think intentionally, together with Paul, we got the team in Uganda, the team of architects and software engineers trained on Bayan. I think that was the first Bayan training they've got, at least from what they mentioned. And I think it was really a good stepping stone for us to then say, we need to start this journey now. And I recall putting my enterprise architect on the spot to say, I need to see the roadmap, right? I need to see the roadmap of how we're actually going to actualize what we've learned from the Bayan trainings. And I think we are on that journey this year to really create clarity. What does that mean? And I think we'll go back from some of the learnings from today to have a session, the 2-3 hour session with our C-level. I think that was really powerful in that pillar of learning, that the C-level needs to understand what this is all about, and hopefully I'll get my CE to sponsor this this journey as well. Yeah, so the training kickstarted us off very well last year. Of course, there was a Gartner Architecture Framework Maturity Assessment that was done. It was self-assessed, but I think one of the things that came out was for us to move to the next maturity level, we needed to actually start adopting Bayan for us to move to the next maturity level, and that's the journey we are on. So in terms of next steps, for Stanbic Bank Uganda, I think we are looking at 3 different ways of how we'll do that, and maybe 2 really. One is capability clarity. We all know when you talk about bank on a page, right? What that means, and I think for me that is powerful, because when I look back at the Finca experience, it was really having that blueprint as well. So, but the bank on a page, I see it as an opportunity for us to understand where the gaps are in our capabilities, rationalize any overlaps across channels, because yes, we do have duplication. We talk about omni-channel experience, but we have, 2 or 3 different systems with different, experiences for the customer. How do we then avoid, duplication and the like through having this one view? But also in terms of service taxonomy, how do we ensure that we are speaking the same language within the organization? I think that's important. So we are starting with that capability clarity, space, because I believe that, it's strong in that sense, but also the bank on a page, will help us to reduce the technology fragmentation, but also align strategy, architecture, and execution at the same time. So that is one we are looking at. We are on an AI journey, and I believe it's only time now that we plug in Bayan right in the early stages. We do have a strategy that was approved last year. This year is execution. But when I reflected back on some of the presentations earlier on. It was a light bulb moment to say, oops, I perhaps missed this, and I need to go back and make sure now we walk the journey with the Bayan in mind. Of course, platform decoupling is key as well, and I think here what stands out is the API design. I mean, we have been on, we have an API, good API rails that have been implemented in Uganda, and I think now reflecting on Bayan is really to say, how do we revisit that to make sure that we are able to perhaps do some sort of API to Bayan capability mapping. I think that is one of the things that we're going to be doing. Of course, the other thing is how do we introduce service domain architecture layer? I know it's there at some level, but how do we have that with Bayan in mind? How do we ensure that we are creating a Bayan compliant API catalog, right? And some of it is already in place. If my head of transformation on the line, he would definitely say, we are already, maybe 60% there. And I'm excited to see what we're going to do in terms of the API design and strengthening that API, discipline, especially with Bayan in mind. Yeah, so I'm sure these slides will be available to everyone, but I'll just go right on in terms of some of the things we are doing or looking at as Stanbic Bank Uganda right now. Modernizing our core system, we've talked about that earlier on, and with the FINACO coming up next, I think it's going to be exciting for us to see how Bayan, comes into the picture there. The AI capability enablement, I mean, that is big for us as well. We have several AI use cases that we have, lined up for this year, and we are hoping to do the execution. We had about 6 proof of concepts last year on different AI, use cases, and I think one of them that was to do with AI personalization for marketing campaigns did, yield a lot of positive results in terms of increase in the number of reactivation accounts, and cross-selling also increase and things like that. And we've really seen the impact of that. So we are looking to scale that and also do AI for technology and AI for the organization, not just the outward. So there's a lot that's going on in that space. We are looking about strengthening our resilience through what we are calling the active architecture. And I think Bayan will definitely play a big piece of part of that as well. FinOps discipline, we only introduced it last year. So all these things, as you see them, speak back to, how we are going to be, how we need Bayan in all these things that we are going to be doing. But, looking at the Bayan forces, different conversations, what comes to mind really is understanding what the capabilities are and what are we actually building. I think it's important. As I said, it's not just a case of adopting the framework. Who owns it is very important. Is it reusable? All those benefits that come with composability and all that stuff is really what we are looking for. And we are saying and acknowledging that Bayan is an important tool for the region, and we just need to have the right rails and the right frame to really, embrace and use it. And I'm sure together with the Bayan team, a lot is out there. I was joking with Paul during the break to say, could we have the next Bayan conference in East Africa, right? I think just to create the visibility, the awareness, I think it's really important. And Paul did say, yeah, I'm looking at West and East and South, so he'll rotate. So hopefully next time I'll be seeing you in East Africa for the next session. And in the last 1 minute, it's really just a recap. In terms of final thoughts, you've heard where we are in terms of the innovation-led digital success without real architecture framework. You've heard of the growing ecosystem complexities and also increasing resilience and regulatory demands. And what Bayan enables us to do there is capability clarity, interoperability, API-driven architecture, and the list goes on and on and on. So from fast but complex to fast, interoperable, and future-ready is what East Africa region is looking to become. Thank you.
Thank you, Rita. We're just running out of time.